He's speaking for the basic manual. This is speech number 6. The purpose of this speech is vocal variety. The title of his speech is Hank's Wedding. Please help me welcome Andrew Cretella.
When I was in college, a girl once asked me, "Why do you take drugs?" Now, I was surprised by the question, but I was even more surprised by the answer I came up with. I simply said, "I have this chemical imbalance, and I'm merely trying to correct it." Please keep this in mind as I tell you the story of Hank's wedding. When my friend Hank got married, it was June 1973, and the reception was in this large hall. For some reason, all the potheads were seated at one table in the corner. The rest of the room was filled with aunts, uncles, people we derisively referred to as straight people. We felt vastly outnumbered. There was this imbalance. And so we naturally turned to mind-altering substances. Now, we couldn't smoke there without being noticed, so someone produced these pills. But there weren't enough to go around. So someone got this bright idea to crush the pills down into this fine powder. The next thing I knew, we were passing around a dinner plate, and we were all snorting this fine powder. What followed was about 4 hours of laughter. The straight people couldn't understand why we kept sniffing the plates, or what was so damn funny. My friend Kat started tugging at my sleeve. She seemed to have some kind of problem. It took me 20 minutes to figure out what her problem was. She felt that she was laughing so much, she couldn't get any words out. She couldn't talk. Well, the solution was obvious. We were all friends of hers, so we did our best to make sure we kept her laughing. We were a big hit with the waitstaff. This waiter came up to me and said, "What would you like for an appetizer?" And he went through this long, detailed list of options. When he got to the end, he said, "What would you like?" And I said, "What?" I had forgotten everything he had said. This poor guy had to repeat himself for me and for everyone else around. They couldn't wait to come back and take our order for the main course. And what really annoyed them is the fact that we didn't eat any of the food they put at the table. We were just too busy. Later, when everyone was dancing, my friend David was laughing because one of the straight people fell down drunk. And he said, "I am so delighted that one of them fell down before one of us did." The rest of the evening was a blur. We were in this structure that had been part of the 1965 New York World's Fair. It was this round tower at the top of this long column. It had 360-degree views of New York at night. All the parkways, all the cars coming and going. You could see the LIE, the Long Island Expressway, also known as the world's longest parking lot. You could see all the bridges in the distance connecting Queens, Manhattan, Bronx. And you could see all the planes leaving, coming and going at the New York airports. It was spectacular. As we got to the end of the evening, we all waited in line to get on this elevator. And as the elevator filled up, this large woman got on, turned around and waved as the doors closed. Well, we stood there staring at the elevator doors. Now, to the untrained eye, it looked like we were asleep with our eyes open. But we were merely just watching the movies inside our heads. The elevator came back up, the doors opened, and all these people were still on the elevator. This large woman looked at us, we looked at her, and she sang out, "Ah!" Like she was in some movie. It was like some weird Marx Brothers movie. The doors closed, and we thought that was hilarious, but we thought everything was hilarious. When I finally got out to the street, the strangest thing happened. A valet gave me my keys and my car. I got behind the wheel. I looked at Kat, she looked at me. She said, "Can you drive?" Like a real idiot, I said, "Of course." I started driving on the parkway, and it was a challenge. But when I pulled onto the Triborough Bridge, I realized I had this problem. I had little or no depth perception. There were these lights, you know, some were near, some were far, and they kept moving. I don't know how I did it, but I made it to my destination. And when I got there, Kat said, "You look like a little boy behind the wheel." And I felt like it. Now, I don't know how I survived some of the things I've done in my life. Frankly, there are times when I'm not even sure they really happened. But I'm so glad they're behind me. And I'm delighted to have these memories to share with you. In closing, I'd just like to say that some of you may be tempted to judge me. But please remember, I have this chemical imbalance. And I'm merely trying to correct it.